right? So then you know that in our syllabus there is additional 3 taxation, you know that I told that earlier, share transaction levy, and you know that is STL, and then you know that the tourist development levy, so TDL, and we need to discuss about the excise duty. So once then I will discuss one by one. So then I will first discuss the share transaction levy. Those are very small lessons. Then 2 examination they test this TDL and the STL. So this share transaction levy, that means you know that that is the imposition of the Finance Act number 5 of 2005, right? Then it was enacted with the effect from the 1st January 25 to change the levy on the share transaction taking place in the stock exchange. So the levy is charged on the seller and both you know that buyer. So here you know that this is not an income tax, right? This is a share transaction levy. Therefore then there are different act here. This imposed in the Finance Act, right? So here my dear students, you should know that this share transaction levy imposed on the share transaction taking place in the stock exchange, imposed on a share transaction taking place in the stock exchange. So on this share transaction taking place in the stock exchange, CSE and the Columbus Stock Exchange, there are 2 parties involved with this transaction, you know, my dear students. Then seller and buyer. This share transaction levy need to pay both party, the seller and buyer. Here the seller, based on the value of the disposal of share, so buyer is the value of the purchase of share. So this both party need to pay share transaction levy. So now you should know what is the percentage of share transaction levy. There were different rates earlier, but after 1st April 2016, after 1st April 2016 to today, the applicable rate is, you know that 0.3%. 0.3%. This is the applicable share transaction. This is the applicable share transaction limit. This is the percentage. So then both seller and buyer need to pay this share transaction levy. Then regarding the payment and return, you write the share transaction levy shall be collected by the relevant stakeholder or the stock dealer and custodian bank. You know, my dear students, both the seller and buyer, to meet the both seller and buyer, facilitated by either stock broker or stock dealer or you know that custodian bank. So these person will facilitate the meet that seller and buyer, and they are the person who finalized this transaction. Therefore, the particular share transaction levy from the seller and buyer will collect by the stock broker, stock dealer or the custodian bank. So they are the responsible party to settle such share transaction levy. Therefore, the custodian bank, stock dealer or the stock broker need to settle this share transaction levy within 3 working days. Within 3 working days. So not 3 days, 3 working days. 3 working days. Let's say that share transaction is taken place in a Friday, so it should be settled on or before next week Wednesday, because then Saturday, Sunday is not an working day. Saturday, Sunday is not an working day. So that the stock exchange, that means the Colombo Stock Exchange, not the stock broker, not the stock dealer, the custodian bank, the Colombo Stock Exchange need to furnish the information, that means the statement regarding the total share transactions taken place for that particular month to Commissioner General. That means within 15 days of the following months. Within 15 days. For an example, so let's say January month, total summary of the share transaction taken place in the Colombo Stock Exchange need to be provide such information to the Commissioner General within 15th of on or before 15th of February. Who is responsible to provide this information? Who is responsible to provide this information as a statement of the return? So Colombo Stock Exchange. So these are the main things that we need to discuss here. Then I will show you that particular example in your tute. So here you can see Mr. A owns 100,000 shares of quoted public company. He sold 50,000 shares at 50 rupee. 50,000 shares at 50 rupee. So who purchased that? Let's say there is a person who Mr. B is the person who purchased that. So Mr. A having 20,000 shares, 100,000 shares in Colombo Stock Exchange. Out of that 100,000, he sold 50,000 shares at 50 rupee. Then how much the transaction value? The transaction value here 2,500. This is the transaction value. So on this, you need to pay share transaction levy. That means both seller and buyer. So 2.5 million into that 3%. 0.3%. So in this case also 0.3%. So we'll see what is the value. You can use your calculator to calculate these values. So you know that 7,500. So in this case also 7,500. Same answer. 7,500 rupees. So that's all about what we can discuss as that share transaction levy. It's a small part. So we'll discuss past papers together. Don't worry. So there are no many past papers. So then I will discuss once I complete all these the exercise duty and that tourism development levy as well. So then we can discuss the tourism development levy, TDL. So here the tourism development levy shall be charged from the every institution licensed under the Tourism Development Act. Every institution. Who should pay? Who should pay? Every institution. Every institutions licensed under Tourism Development Act number 14 of 1968. If any institute get the license under this, the Tourism Development Act number 14 of 1968, need to pay this tourism development levy. You know, there are some institutions are there who can register under this. There are three type of institutions. So first one, the tourist hotel, so and then the travel agent, and finally you know that tourist shop. They are the institute who is responsible to liable to pay this tax, right? These are the institute that they liable to pay the tourism development levy. Now we'll see what is the percentage of that tax, liable percentage, and on which value they have to pay, right? So they have to pay tourism development levy on the liable turnover, that means turnover into rate. First of all, you should know how to calculate this turnover under this three institution. Here the tourist hotel. So how you can calculate the turnover for the tourist hotel? You know that the amount received or receivable, amount received or receivable, minus, you know, the tourist hotel will charge the service charge. So you have to minus the service charge. Not only that, the service charge, and you need to deduct if there is any VAT include, value added tax. Now you know that. So this is the way the tourist hotel can calculate their turnover. Then we'll see how the travel agent can calculate the turnover. Travel agents need to calculate the turnover, amount received or receivable, minus is there any value added tax paid. So please keep in mind, the travel agent sometime will sell, you know, the air ticket, the commission earned by travel agent by selling air ticket. are not liable for tourism development levy. Please make sure that commission earned by the travel agent by selling the air ticket is not liable for tourist development levy. On the tourist shop, how they can calculate the turnover? The turnover is, amount received or receivable minus value added tax. So same way. So on this, my dear students, on this turnover, they need to pay the tourism development levy on a particular percentage. So when we discuss this rate, so we have to be very careful regarding the rate. You know that if the annual this turnover exceed 12 million or quarterly turnover exceed 3 million, the rate is, you have to keep in mind, the rate should be 1%. The 1%. If the annual turnover less than 12 million or the quarterly turnover less than 3 million, you should pay rate as 0.5%. There are two rates, right? If that turnover, the way calculate the turnover is they exceed the 12 million per annum and the the 3 million per quarter, then the rate is 1% or otherwise the 5%. So that is the percentage of that tourism development levy. So then we have to discuss when they need to pay this tourism development levy. So the tourism development levy should pay quarterly. Once a quarter, you have to pay that tourist development levy, and the return also need to submit quarterly. The return and the payment both should be paid and the submit on or before end of the next quarter. For an example, let's say if there is a quarter ended 31st March 2024, then that payment and the return both should be submit on or before the end of the next quarter, in the sense on or before 30th June 2024. That is the important thing that we need to keep in mind. So that to whom you need to pay this tourism development levy, so that is not for the Commissioner General, that should be remitted to the Director General of Ceylon Tourist Board. Not for the Commissioner General of the Inland Revenue. So this is governed by the Ceylon Tourist Board. Right? Therefore, the payment need to remit and the return should be submit to the Director Ceylon Tourist Board. So that is the summary what the tourism development levy mean. But now we can discuss a particular exercise given here. The following information of Sahas Hotel were given in relation to the quarter ended 31st December 2023. This information relevant to 31st December 2023 quarter. Right. So in this quarter, regarding that, that they have given this information. Room revenue, the 4,560, and service charge. It's given, that the service charge is 10%. So let's say the service charge including this value is how much? Here then I told that the relevant turnover you need to take excluding the service charge. right, excluding the service charge. Therefore, you know that the room service is liable to pay 10% service charge. Therefore, you need to deduct that 10% service charge, right? 10% service charge you need to deduct. Therefore, let's say the service charge is 4,560. So then the sales of beverages, you know that 2,167,000. Others, income from the other service, 1,254,000. So now you know then this service charge we cannot take. Therefore, other than this service charge, how much the total income? Then you can calculate this income, 4,560 plus 2,167 plus 1,254. Then you know the relevant turnover for the quarter is 7,981,000. That is more than 3 million. Therefore, the tourism development levy should be 7,981, right, into 1%. The rate is decided because there is more than 3 million per quarter. Therefore, you need to multiply 1%. So that is something 79,810. This is the tourism development levy need to pay for the quarter ended 31st December 2023. This payment you need to make on or before end of the next quarter, that means on or before 31st March 2024. That is the end date of the next quarter. Therefore, this is the application we can do for that you know that tourism development levy. So this is the basic understanding about the tourism development levy. Right, then we can discuss the excise duty. The excise duty, then we should know what is the imposition of the excise duty. So this excise duty will impose on every excisable article manufactured or imported to Sri Lanka. That means this should be paid every excisable article manufactured or import to Sri Lanka. They sell mean the Sri Lanka, right? Sri Lanka. Then how get the registration? The whole application for the registration should be made to the Director of Excise with the prescribed fee. Therefore, every manufacturer of the such excisable article in Sri Lanka or every importer need to get the registration, otherwise they cannot continue their business. Therefore, the registration is must. How you can get? You have to get the registration from the Director of the Excise Department by filling the required application and paying particular prescribed fees, right? Then you should pay the excise duty. There is no such percentage like you know that the earlier 5%, 0.5%, 1% like that. There is no percentage. The excise duty will decide by the particular. There is a value for the particular article. There is a value. The value is prescribed by the Director of the Excise, right? So it can be changed time to time, right? It can be changed time to time. They will issue some gazette notification and will inform the recent rates. So therefore, there is no such you know that the flat rate, right? So here then you have to pay the excise duty on the value of such excisable article. So how you can decide the value of that excisable article? Therefore, if you sell that excisable article at the normal sales price, which an excisable article is sold at the time such article are removed from the place of the manufacture and the course of wholesale rate trade where the buyer is not a related person. That means the normal sales price you can take at that time. At that time you can take the normal sales. But the normal sales price is cannot decide. If there is an specific things, the market price, the normal price is not ascertainable, then at that time you have to get particular the nearest ascertainable price. However, you have to get the market price when you calculate the excise duty. Definitely you have to get the market price. So then if the director of the excise having some doubt whether this the price is a fair price or not, that can be ascertained or the calculate by the director. That power is having with the director. That means if the manufacturer, producer or importer sells any excisable article at a price below the open market. So there may be some situation where if you sell that excisable good to your one of relative in the family member or the neighbor or one of friends, so then you will sell that goods at a lower price than the market price. At that time the director of the excise has right to assess your value of the excisable goods at market price. That's what I told earlier. The always your excise duty need to calculate and pay based on the market price, even though you sell that real such a that the real price is low than that. That's up to you. However, the market based on the market price, then you have to calculate and pay the excisable goods. So that's about regarding that regarding the manufacturing goods and articles. What about the value of the imported articles? That then we calculate the value of the that the value of the taxable supply for the value added tax VAT. Can you remember the CIF value? The cost, insurance and freight. You need to multiply it by 110%, and then you need to add port development levy, cess, and port and air development levy. Then is there any custom duty? This is the value of particular excisable article for importation. So then what is the payment of this excise duty? So this should be paid by the producer of the manufacturing, the producer of that the manufacturer or importer of such excisable goods article. So that should be paid quarterly. It should be paid quarterly, but the payment should be made on or before within 1 month from the end of particular quarter. Within 1 month from 1 calendar month from end of particular quarter. That means if the quarter is 31st March 2024, your payment and the return should be submit on or before 30th April 2024. That is the requirement of that the payment and the return submission of the excise duty regarding the manufactured goods, manufactured articles. But regarding the import article, that at the point of the importation, you should pay excise duty. There is no particular term period, there is no particular gap. So at the time of the importation, once that article took place from that that the custom, you have to pay the particular excise duty. So that's regarding what that import articles, right? There is no flat rate for this one. So this is not yet test in your past papers, right? However, the one time they test this tourism development levy and the share transaction levy. So then in this time also you can expect, right, it will test the maximum for If they test, they will test maximum for 2-3 marks, right? So this is the end of the discussion of now you know the tourism development levy, the share transaction levy and the excise duty. So thank you very much.